effective communication to expand utilization of underutilized legumes for health, nutrition, and environmental sustainability. Today, we have a speaker who is the head of communications at IITA, Ms. Katherine Lopez. And the objective for today's webinar is to understand, well, some of the objectives of today's webinar is to understand how communication can be leveraged for increasing the use of underutilized legumes in the industries. To also evaluate the significance of underutilized legumes in improving global health and nutrition. Also, to assess the impact of communication and environmental sustainability with the application of the underutilized legumes. Finally, the last objective for today's webinar is to support the society's mission in the promotion and commercialization of the underutilized legumes. I would, with this background, I would like to call on Associate Professor Jacob Pokwola, who is the National Linkage Officer in the universities in universities for the Society for Underutilized Legumes, for his welcome address. Professor Jacob Pokwola, are you with us now? Can you let me know? Okay, so I have been told to hold on for him while he joins us. Okay, so we're still holding on for Professor Popola for his welcome address. Okay, someone is saying there is no audio. If you can hear me, let me know now. I take it that it was because I kept quiet, waiting for Professor Popola. Okay, so while we're waiting for Professor Popola, I think he's having issues with his connection. I would like to introduce, give a background to the speaker's profile. Now, Katherine Lopez is a development communication practitioner and also a science communicator and a strategic communication specialist. She currently serves as the head of communication at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, a role that she has held for the past 14 years. Prior to joining IITA, she held several senior communication roles across leading international and national research institutes. These include science editor at the International Rice Research Institute, IRRI, in the Philippines, an acting head of communication and science editor at the World Vegetable Center in Taiwan, the head of communication at the National Institute for Forest Products Research and Development under the Department of Science and Technology, also in the Philippines, an editor at an International Agricultural Research and Education Center at the University of the Philippines. A trained science writer, an editor, Katherine brings over 35 years of experience in international and regional agricultural research and development. Our expertise spans communication and knowledge management, strategic communication design, digital extension, and learning programs, and the development of high-impact communication products and platforms. Beyond that professional work, she is a Rotarian and a passionate mentor, actively supporting young people and early career professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Katherine Lopez.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Katherine.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, so my connection is a bit spotty, but yeah, are we going to have Professor Popula speak first, right?
Yes, we'll have him speak first.
Yeah.
So I think he has joined us now. Professor, are you with us now?
Hello. I'm with you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you, sir. Please go ahead with your welcome address. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Distinguished participants, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry for joining late. And it is my pleasure to warmly welcome you all to the 31st Academic Lecture Series of the Society for Underutilized Legumes. We are delighted to have all of you, particularly our guest speaker, for this important discourse. And the title of it is Leveraging Effective Communications to Expand the Utilization of Underutilized Legumes for Health, Nutrition, and Environmental Sustainability, which I think is very crucial at this time. We all need it. As a society, we remain committed to promoting knowledge, innovation, and collaboration that advance the feasibility and use of underutilized legume resources. And sometimes ago, I think about a month ago, we did something similar, using Bambara as a typical example. Today's lecture provides yet another opportunity to share insights, strengthen partnerships, and inspire action that will contribute meaningfully to food security and sustainable development. We are highly honored to have our distinguished guest speaker, Ms. Katherine Lopez of IITA. You are welcome to be our guest speaker today, and we are going to leverage on your expertise in strategic communication that will enrich our understanding of how information can transform research outcomes into a real-life impact. I want to encourage every one of us to engage actively, contribute thoughtfully, and make the most of this session. I want to thank our guest speaker. I want to thank the members of the society, the president, every member of ESCO. Thank you very well. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. And I wish us a fruitful and impactful lecture series this afternoon. You are all welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Jacob Popola. Thank you very much, sir, for that warm welcome address. So we have come to the point where we are all here, where we would I would have to hand over to the guest speaker for her presentation. Over to you, Katherine.
Thank you very much, Timmy, and good afternoon, everyone. Caso Inauni Lafia, is that correct? Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I can see Joanna. We've been colleagues for how many years now? the CG system, and I can also see a lot of other comms colleagues in this forum. So thank you, everyone. And I want to extend, first of all, appreciation to the Society of Underutilized Legumes, for your work, for such a worthy advocacy, and also for organizing this timely event. I mean, most of my presentation is really more prescriptive since IITA has not really been involved in an organized, I mean, at least the communication teams were not really involved in organized promotional efforts for a lot of the underutilized crops. One or two projects maybe in the last 5, 10 years, and ongoing at the moment. And we have focused mainly on the IITA crops like Bambara nut and African yam. So yeah, well, across much of Africa and the developing world, of course, we are all facing a complex food systems challenge. Food insecurity, increasing malnutrition, climate variability, and of course, pressure on natural resources and the food systems. And yet, within this situation, we often overlook an opportunity, and that is the potential of underutilized legumes. So, although for many years we have been focusing on some of these legumes, most of the attention and the funding has mostly been focused heavily on important African food staple crops, of course. So meanwhile, many of these indigenous and underused legumes, which are also very rich in nutrients and resilient to the harsh environments and culturally relevant, remain largely untapped. So these crops are not really alternatives because they're already being used traditionally in the rural areas in a lot of the communities in Africa. They may have been forgotten temporarily, but they have also been receiving attention. But like we said, now is the time to put more attention on this and give them the resources that they deserve. Okay, so of course we mentioned the several issues on why we need to really pay attention to underutilized legumes. So there's food security, it provides affordable nutrition, and they are hardy crops that can withstand the climate challenges. And of course, they are good for the farming systems because they provide the fertilizer to the soil and increases the yields. I know everybody knows this, so let me just go to this next slide on why, which really shows why we have to really promote underutilized legumes. So, of course, we mentioned health and nutrition, there's environment and climate and economy and sustainability. So, for all these reasons, uh, underutilized legumes actually are being promoted because they're being touted as a solution to the global challenges in food security and of course nutrition. So crops, for example, such as Bambara groundnut, pigeon pea, Africa yam bean, these are all resilient and nutrition dense and well adapted to marginal environments, and yet, like we mentioned, their adoption remains really limited, for various reasons.
Tuesday, go and join us here.
Hello?
We can
Yeah,
hear you, Kathy.
yeah, okay. Yeah, for example, in the CG and IITA context, CGIAR in the IITA context, promoting these legumes actually align directly with the strategic goals around food security, climate resilience, and sustainable livelihoods. In fact, CGIAR's mission emphasizes transforming food systems to deliver diverse, healthy, and sustainable diets while improving environmental health. Similarly, IITA has actively championed underutilized legumes through research, gene bank conservation, and stakeholder engagement platforms. So the work continues in terms of promoting this underused or underutilized legumes. Sorry, can you still see my slide?
No, we can't see it anymore.
No, we can't.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. I lost connection or something. Pope, do you have my slides there? I sent it to you. Sorry about this, huh? Is that mine? Hello. Apologies for that one. Anyway, so to continue. Yeah, we were talking about the importance of underutilized legumes for health and nutrition, environment and climate, and systems. However, all this adoption remains limited due to weak systems and then of the value chains. So really the problem is not the science or the technology or the innovations or the varieties. The problem is really in the adoption. So if you will notice the crops that are receiving more attention like cassava and maize are those that are really being adopted by farmers, and where there is no attention being given, like for the underused legumes, the crops remain neglected. Okay, so examples of successful innovations, for example, we have vitamin A, which corn or maize produced by IITA and Harvest Plus. I mean, this crop has been promoted by CGs, for how many years, and the result in terms of adoption show that more than 38% in some regions of Nigeria have adopted the vitamin A maize. So what we're saying here is people didn't really adopt the maize just because of the variety. Partly, the communication and the promotional work that was done by for ITAs, seeing the audiences understand the health benefits. Okay, so we're looking at the what drives the adoption or acceptance of the innovation. So that's the health benefits. For AflaSafe, which is a more recent innovation being promoted again by CGIAR, this has reduced aflatoxin contamination by 99%. Adoption has been driven by strong communication with farmers, market incentives. So here we connected the science with the income, and this resulted into acceleration of adoption. So another example is Aquilimo, which is a digital platform introduced by IITA for cassava farmers, but which is also now being applied to other crops. So with this particular innovation, we've reached more than 500,000 farmers with 76% adoption rate, using the recommendations from the platform, with again a yield increase of about 22%. So here, with the help of digital communication, we were able to scale knowledge much faster than if we had just used the extension, the traditional extension systems alone. Okay. So we did mention barriers to adoption. Okay. So this is really the gap in communication and knowledge. So we said there's a lot of untapped potential for underused or underutilized legumes. They're nutrition rich, but they're not used. And then there's low awareness among the consumers and farmers. There's limited research dissemination beyond the academic community. There is not much demand, and the value chains are not very well developed. Then, of course, we also mentioned that knowledge is fragmented across institutions. So most of the knowledge remain within the institutions that are generating the research results. So the problem here is not really the availability of the variety or the innovation. It's really more about lack of visibility and usage. Next. So yeah, so now we need to answer these three questions. So how do we move these crops from neglect to mainstream adoption? That's one. And then how do we make them more attractive, not only to farmers, but of course to all other users, consumers, processors, private sector. Okay, and then the third question is how do we ensure that women and youth, who are often at the heart of local food systems, also benefit from these opportunities? So really, what we're saying is we don't need better crops because they're already there. We need better visibility, we need better storytelling and knowledge flow around those crops. A lot of work already exists in terms of translating research into usable knowledge, but again, they're not available to farmers and extension agents. So we can use a lot of existing communication channels, tools, platforms actually to provide this information to farmers, extension agents, and then, last mile communication tools such as, of course, cell phones and then community platforms to get the information closer to the farmers or the end users. So really, strategic communication plays a central role in transforming this knowledge into actionable points, for use by the farmers. So we can move these crops to the mainstream by making knowledge accessible, practical, and visible, and translating research into farmer-friendly content using digital and local communication channels. So other steps that we can take would be really to make sure that we invest in campaigns for orphan crops, because like we said, they're not really being promoted enough. And then we need to, for example, integrate them into school feeding programs and nutrition policies. There's the funding, the value chain, branding, plus product development. So linking to commercialization, and then embedding communication into R4D projects. Then most important, we need to position this underused legumes as a plant-based protein and climate smart food. Next, please. So why is adoption low? Because we said there's a knowledge and communication gap. So one very good example, for example, on how we can promote underutilized legumes is through blogs and op-eds. So here's an example written of a blog that was written by our nutritionist, Mercy Longao, who's leading the nutrition program in IITA. So, for example, in her op-ed, she was explaining that the consumers do not accept some of these innovations or new food because of the stories attached to them. So they are framed as rural foods or foods of scarcity, orphan crops, and they do not signal success or celebration. So how do we package the framing and the identity of the food that we're trying to promote? So this narrative needs to be changed, okay? And for example, the legumes need to be positioned or repositioned as smart foods for performance, wellness, and then naturally align them with climate conscious values, with the global food trends, etc. So for example, Bambara smoothie on television. If we do that, then it becomes a lifestyle choice, not anymore a poor man's food, So it's the identity that drives the consumption even before the information does. Another example is, for example, again, young consumers, follow influencers and urban food culture. So they usually endorse and share what they see from these influencers, chefs, athletes, etc. So if we can package our innovations and these new products into smart choices, then of course the young people would be using more of these new products. Okay, so how do we now turn knowledge into action and impact? So we can start with knowledge management, okay? This is capturing the indigenous knowledge, creating knowledge repositories, facilitating knowledge sharing and the reuse networks, and then of course using data and artificial intelligence, then building communities of practice. Next, please. Then the question of how do we drive adoption through behavior change? So we can simplify research, which just means translating the technical information into something simple for farmers or for the consumers to understand. We can use storytelling so the audiences can relate to the messages and understand them based on their context. Then we can also use their food habits, contextualize the promotion of the food items based on the existing food habits. And then we can promote, for example, recipes and cooking knowledge. I mean, this is a very effective way of reaching our audiences. Many people are very excited about, getting new recipes and learning about food and the culture. And then, of course, there are demonstrations and campaigns, and then a lot of this, of course, use also digital tools. Next, please. Adoption through behavior change. So we've can you move to the next slide, please? It's not moving, Tope. Yeah, so I did mention digital tools. We can use social media storytelling, which is a very effective way of reaching our audiences. It's also a good way to showcase success stories. We can also use farmer videos and testimonials, mobile-based extension, etc. So for IITA, we have Radio IITA, IITA TV, which are all digital platforms that are used to reach farmers and consumers. Then, of course, at the CGIR level, we have this campaign, which was started way back with Science Weekend, where we actually push innovations using a series of systematic, organized activities, including a lot of activities that include the mass or tools using mass media, social media, and the other approaches and platforms. Next, please. So what we're saying is communication and knowledge management must be integrated actually into a unified strategy. If we are to succeed in making sure that our users would be adapting our innovations and technologies. So we need to emphasize that from research, the knowledge has to be packaged and then shared with the end users for adoption. And then we need to also get feedback because this ensures that there's continuous learning and improvement. If the process we have a feedback coming from the audience. And we need to know that farmers are not just users, they're also contributors because they contribute to the indigenous knowledge. Next, please. So what needs to happen next? So like we said, this is really more prescriptive presentation. So we want to build our extension systems, and the way to do that is, we have to work with the existing traditional and also use more modern extension systems. Of course, again, leveraging on digital technologies and platforms. So we need to help build the value chains as well, because really that would help commercialize all these new products and crops developed from these underused legumes. Then we need to influence policy and advocacy. I mean, we have not done much in terms of influencing policy and advocacy. And I think this is one area where the communication and also the researchers would need to sit together and, come up with a really policymakers to ensure that we have an environment that will really enable the adoption of these underutilized legumes. And then, of course, we have to work with a lot of partners. So this include the traditional partners and donors, which we have not really reached There are other, I mean, aside from the universities and advanced research institutions that we work with, to promote some of these underutilized legumes, we have also worked with new partners in the commercial or private sector. So I think we need to continue looking for some of these non-traditional partners. And then, of course, we need to engage youth and women because they would be the main cadre of people who can help us in terms of nutrition promotion and also developing new products and promoting this underutilized crops to other users. Next, please. So yeah, so we said that these forgotten crops are the future foods actually. They're smart crops and they will be the food of the future, but more needs to be done in terms of promoting them. So in addition to the, like we said, value chains, there's the extension systems, there's policy advocacy, there's knowledge management and communication tools that need to be promoted. So underutilized legumes actually hold immense potential to transform food systems by improving nutrition, enhancing environmental sustainability, and building climate resilience. Go ahead, please. So yeah, so what we're saying now is that Africa does not need to import any more solutions because we already have them here. So we have underused legumes that are climate smart, nutritious, and economically viable. So we also said that the missing link is not really science, but communication and knowledge sharing. So if we invest in making these crops visible and ready for the market, we are definitely sure that adoption will follow. So hopefully, from orphan crops, this underutilized crops would become opportunity crops, and this is the transformation that we're really looking for. So in the CG context, which of course includes IITA and partners, integrating all these approaches that we mentioned earlier can bridge the gap between research and impact. So by translating knowledge into action, fostering collaboration, and leveraging digital tools, the underutilized legumes can move from the margins to the mainstream and hopefully contribute to healthier populations, resilient ecosystems, and sustainable livelihoods. Yeah, so with that, I want to close the presentation and get some questions. Like I said, this is more prescriptive and and I would suggest that if there are suggestions and the recommendations for how we can help improve the communication of underutilized legumes, this would be the forum for discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you so much for that very in-depth presentation. I'm sure we can all, at this point, clap for her. Okay, so, and I'm also certain that a number of us have questions. We might want to raise our hands and then we'll take it from there. Those of us that have questions. And then if you're dropping in the comment section as well, I will check and read out as you drop. Okay, so we have one question here. Please, let's all mute. If you have questions, raise your hand, then we'll call your name. So we have a question from someone, Ezekiel Onosoya. He's saying, or he's asking, how can effective communication rapidly contribute to the scaling up of underutilized legumes sustainability in sub-Saharan Africa in the next 5 years? how can effective communication rapidly contribute to the scaling up of underutilized legumes sustainability in sub-Saharan Africa in the next 5 years? So we presently don't have any more questions. We don't have anyone raising their hands yet. So maybe Kathy would want to take that. Okay, so someone has raised.
I raise my hand.
Yes, I can see that now. I can see that now. We have John Ochigbo and who else again? Okay, Professor Kukola. So, Prof, would you want to ask your questions now?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Go
much.
ahead.
I want to commend Katherine for that lecture. Thank you so much. My question in the areas of adoption, she mentioned something about cooking demos in communities and school feeding programs. And looking at most of our communities, poverty is somehow entrenched. And looking at the economic situation, how do we go about it? And how can effective communication be of help in the adoption, acceptance of most of these underutilized legumes, particularly African yam bean, Bambara groundnut, and maybe Castine groundnut, the three of them. How? What do we do? And as a society, how do we come here? And also, as a person in charge of a communication at IITA, how will you be of help so that even members of this society can take it further to remote areas, to communities, and possibly be of help in the area of demos in communities? Thank you.
Okay, so Kathy, would you want to take all the questions or you would answer these two first and then we'll move on to the other ones?
I think we can start answering now. Yeah.
Okay, so please go ahead.
Anyway, so there's the first question is related to the other question of professor as well. So how can we
Yes.
like hasten adoption of underused legumes, in sub-Saharan Africa? So like I said, we need the campaigns, of course, to increase visibility, to increase awareness, knowledge about this uh, forgotten crops, if we can put it that way. So the campaigns usually, well, a campaign is an organized system of or set of activities, that can include uh, many things, whether that's like a farmers outreach, radio programs, TV programs, using social media as well, uh, uh, farmers field days, so all these activities that we can uh, organize in a systematic way over a period of time and with set goals so we can measure the impact of the effectiveness of the communication. So for example, at IITA, we do use farmers outreach regularly to meet the farmers in the field or to bring them to IITA and expose them to, for example, new varieties or improved agronomical or agricultural practices. So this has been found to be very effective. So this is combined, of course, with the radio programs and the podcasts and the training itself, uh, whether it's in the field or at IITA. So these kinds of activities provide a very effective uh, interaction, for farmers because they can ask the researchers questions, and then IITA also provides some planting materials and the knowledge, and there's follow-up as well. So that's what we were saying. So it's not just really informing the farmers or providing information about these new varieties. So for underutilized crops, we can take the same approach, so really be very vocal about or visible about promoting this uh, orphan crops. So I think in one project before we partnered with the University of well, anyway, one university in the UK where we were promoting African yam bean, and we were also organizing exhibitions and cook fests, demonstrations, which really opened up the eyes of people to this indigenous or uh, underutilized food. So there are so many things we can do, but certainly a campaign is the way to go. So it's continuous, and it stretches over time, and we have communication goals and outputs plus behavioral change. We're also looking at that in terms of adoption, uh, and of course we can measure the effectiveness of the communication efforts. So that's one way. But we also mentioned that it's very important, of course, to like reach out to partners. So not just the traditional partners, but non-traditional partners as well, who could help us with the, of course, with the funding. That's one, or setting up of resources and the infrastructure that would be needed for some of these programs. Okay. To the other question of Professor on cooking demos and feeding programs. I mean, again, taking an example from the IITA activities, we have a school outreach program where we go to where we visit schools and introduce, new topics to children from grade school to high school. And then there are also opportunities for the older or younger adults still in school to come to IITA and visit us and ask questions. So there's a continuing mentoring and the learning process and systems in place to make sure that the knowledge continues to uh, be shared with the audiences. So we also work with the schools, of course. These are organized events. We work with the local government and the educational uh, system to make sure that we introduce those innovations. So then there are like huge celebrations or observances. For example, in Nigeria, that's a very big event, and every year we do organize an event for kids from primary to secondary school, or a little bit younger, to come to IITA. We do contests. We the some of these new products. We take them on a tour around the IITA to introduce them to the science and the agribusiness. Some of these kids even ask like, where does rice come from? They didn't know. So some funny stories like that they think it comes from the supermarket. So giving them that opportunity to visit and uh, you know, show hands-on or in practical terms how agriculture is done, how science is being done in IITA or its offices, not just in Nigeria, but other locations. That's an effective intervention that we have found. So, did I answer your question, Prof. and Ezekiel? So, how can we be of
Yes,
help
yes,
to
I'm
the
okay.
society? Thank you. So how can we be of help to the society? Yeah, well, we have been helping the society actually in terms of promotional work, uh, communication work. That I mean, not that it's not organized, but there's a lot of requests coming in. But since we don't really have a project on that involves the communication team. We have not been very much involved in a lot of these efforts, but I believe from now on we really have to do that. I mean, it's already late actually. We can continue to provide support, like we've done some training for young scientists or researchers, and we're going to be doing another training session next month for the society on communication, mentoring young people on how to communicate. So because that helps. So we've always like championed or encouraged young people and our scientists and researchers to really talk about their work. No, so like we said, communication is everybody's business. So everybody should really be promoting his or her own work, whether that's using social media, of course, within certain boundaries or within with the accuracy and the credibility that is expected from institutions like IITA. So so that's another approach that we can be of help to the society. We can already work on we actually have one existing campaign. So for crops, every month we are promoting IITA crops. So I guess we have 6 mandate crops. So we can include the underutilized legumes as the seventh set of crops that we promote for a whole month on all social media platforms, on all our communication outlets, etc. So we can promise to do that. Professor?
Yes, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm with you.
All right then. Thank you, Kathy. There was another hand, John Okigbo. Are you still, or has the question been answered already?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Thank you
afternoon.
thank you for the lecture. We really appreciate your time that you have taken on this knowledge. My question is the adoption of these legumes. Currently I'm a community facilitator, and from my end, I believe that the communication for adoptions of some of these legumes is not a basic challenge in my state, but the challenge is how do farmers have access to improve varieties? Because I can record more than 30 hectares of legume, precisely cowpea and then soybeans last year cropping season. But the harvest was very poor because they do not have access to improved varieties. So how do we farmer have access to some of these improved variety that will boost their production? Thank you.
So I believe IITA is also working with the society in terms of research and also with GRC, uh, making sure that the planting materials are available to farmers groups. But then again, I think the issue is, do we have enough support to be able to do that, or are there existing projects that really this varieties to farmers? So yeah, maybe communication is one problem, like we said, because of the lack of visibility from our point of view, from the communicator's point of view. But like you're saying, you're in extending, knowledge. So in the observation that there is not enough planting materials or seeds really given attention by our local government, of course, because and the seed systems, because I mean, that's a major problem, and if that is not given attention, well, definitely, yeah, we will. Our goal of making sure that underutilized crops are become more popular and are adopted by farmers and become the food of the future will not succeed. So yeah, I guess from the researcher's point of view, we need to write more proposals to make sure that yeah we address the seed gap problem, and then also work with the local government and the Ministry of Agriculture to make sure that again this is part of their priority for the future. Over.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I take it that we have no more questions or comments. So at this point, I would like to hand over to. Do we still have anyone?
Yes,
There's
please.
Michael Adiyabo.
Okay. Please go ahead
Yes.
with your question.
All right. So thank you. Not to take your time, I want to say thank you for the time. I was actually a bit late joining, but when I saw this, one thing that came to my mind, I work with grassroots, directly with grassroots farmers, and talking about legumes that we discuss here. In my own opinion, I feel that there are a lot of grassroots community experts or people that are working with grassroots farmers. So the essence of all this should be sustainable and something that will reach them directly. So it doesn't need to be a bit big, but we can select few people that are working with them, and we put it in the hand of the community leaders or maybe the people that are reaching them. So this for me will be able to be sustainable in terms of maybe the results. So in each state, we can get maybe 2 or 3 people, and we can cascade it down over time. So what we get, the result we get for this few time, we'll be able to cascade it down. Not that okay, we have different programs or maybe we're doing this and all that, but if we can measure success in terms of okay, in each local government or each state, we can get maybe 2 or 3 organization or people that are working with grassroots, then we hand it over or work with them. Then we see how many farmers they want to hand it over to, then we can see the result, then we can cascade it down over time. So this is one thing that always come to my mind anytime we say okay, we want to do XYZ and all that. So it doesn't need to be long, but we just can get few people we can hand it over to, then we can get measurable success. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. That's also a very effective approach because, yeah, I mean, you're in the community, you know the community best, and you can work with people that you know. But it would also help if we have like organized interventions, you know, from maybe the Ministry of Agriculture or from NGOs or from international organizations like IITA and the CG network, you know, to be able to provide support for promoting the growth of research in that area and also the use and the spread of the new of the varieties or the actual materials of the legumes, the underutilized plants. But yeah, I think that's an effective way to go about it as well. Although we may not reach as many audiences like you said.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Please, can you mute if you're not one of the speakers? Thank you. Okay, so do we have any more questions or comments or feedback?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good day.
thank you, Michael. Please go ahead.
I want to appreciate the speaker for such well delivered lecture. But I'm looking at this challenge. I'm looking at trying to export these crops that are underutilized. And would there be challenge? Do you think we could have some possible challenge when trying to export these crops? Challenge like shelf life, and how can we tackle these challenges? Because while we are trying to communicate with people, what are the possible challenges we could have from these underutilized crops? And then how can we tackle those challenges before exporting them?
Michael, I'm not a scientist or researcher, but anyway, I do there are challenges, but I'm sure somebody from GRC, scientist or like Tope, can answer that question better than me. So how do we
Okay,
address
will
the
Dr.
export
Tope
issues?
answer that, please?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie, and the entire team. In actual fact, a number of studies have been conducted on the
We can't hear you anymore. We've lost Dr. Tope. I don't know why. Can anybody hear him? No.
No.
I think it's disconnected.
No, we can't. I guess
No.
network issues.
Yeah, I
Dr.
guess so.
Okay, as she responded.
Yes.
So I mentioned that. I'm sorry. I mentioned that there are a number of studies that have been conducted, particularly at the Genetic Resources Center, on the proximate properties of the legumes, as well as some physical characterization that has been done, particularly looking at chemical properties for Bambara, Africa yam bean, wing bean, Kesenga, not among others. So Dr. Deshola was asking, are you on the call? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Stick to that, then I'll continue. Thank you.
Oh, okay. And like you rightly mentioned, a lot of researches have been done, and I would probably use this forum to advise that the person that asked the question can actually have a personal contact with us, our WhatsApp group, and then we can take up some information from him and then give him as much as we can deliver regarding the works that have been done with Genetic Resources Center. And that will serve as a guide to understanding the likes of the shelf life, the breeding cycles, and quite a lot of data already established by the Genetic Resources Center. And then we can do a one-to-one interaction and give him the information that he needs regarding some of the questions that he has asked. So I would suggest you just have probably join our group, or if he's already there, we can take the question up from there. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you,
Okay,
Dr.
thank you very much. So I
Deshola.
will that
Okay, please
drop
go ahead.
the link to the what do you call it now? The link to the WhatsApp platform or your number, the chat box. Then in addition is that there are specific protocols that have been defined by exporting nations. So if the product is going from one African country to another, there are specific have been going to Europe, Asia,
Can you
or
please mute if you're
Americas.
not speaking?
There are specific so once we're able to identify the country of need, then we'll be able to work around the export criteria in relation to the crop of interest. Then it's also important for you to know, for us to know that the IITA has a very strong germplasm health unit that does a lot of all the necessary phytosanitary investigations before these materials are released. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, so I would want to suggest that the WhatsApp link is shared in the chat box, seeing that one or two things have been open to working with people or with the group. Some other persons have also shared materials from other efforts towards these conversations that we're having. Someone from Alliance and ABC, also a CG Center. So I think for us to take this conversation forward, we can share the WhatsApp link in the chat box and then people can discuss further. In the absence of any more questions, I want to believe I'm not missing any raised hands anymore. Yes, I'm not. I would like to hand over to Dr. Abiodun Odeshola for the vote of thanks and the announcements. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for facilitating so beautifully. Thank you. Now, I want to appreciate Ms. Lopez. Kathy, thank you so much. I'm not surprised. I'm used to listening to you and enjoying every bit of it. Thank you for coming around again. We are Oliver Twist. I can assure you we'll still have to call you at another time. And I'm positive that you will respond to our call. We appreciate the discussion. And I'm also sure that we will come visit to consolidate on all this discussion regarding the topic you have talked about. So thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you everyone that have been present again for our monthly webinar. We appreciate your timely presence and we look forward to having you around in the next webinar, which will of course be exciting as always. Now to the announcements. I want to serve a reminder on our 9th scientific conference and annual general meeting, which will be holding in Kaduna, October this year. We want you to start preparing for it. Is going to be insightful, quite detailed, and then all-encompassing regarding the underutilized legumes, the underutilized crops. Our journal is still very much open to everyone. We want you to publish with us, and we can guarantee that the review will be in the shortest possible time, and of course very detailed. And you have your work being well published in a well-established journal, as well as our SOU membership, which is the Society for Underutilized membership. We want as much as many people to be there, to be part of us. We have quite a lot of programs that you are going to enjoy. And of course, this comes with an annual, a token of small token to be part of our member. Like it's been suggested, when I'm done now, before you leave the call, I will drop our WhatsApp group link where you can be able to join us, join our WhatsApp link, and then get to know other information regarding underutilized legumes. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you as we look forward to having you around in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you all. Regards to everyone. We'll meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you all.
much.
Wonderful.